I thought that One Autumnal Face, after reading this Unalterable Animal, was sort of like a prelude to that play in a sense too, because in many ways both of the plays move away from total immersion, especially the latter play. It's using these short clip little bits of dialogue that sort of take on the tenor of the prisoner.
Yeah, well, both this One Autumnal Face and this Unalterable Animal are three character plays, Danny and two female characters. And in the first One Autumnal Face, it's two versions of this girl that Danny had gone out with just one time for an hour or two to a local A&W, and there's the quote unquote real version that Danny finds online on Facebook or wherever the hell I found her photo, and she's typically middle aged. She's pudged out and wears eyeglasses and isn't that pretty anymore. And then there's the dream version, which is just an older version of the teenage version of herself, who was cute and petite and pretty and retains that into middle age. So
I think you told me once that you had been on about 250 dates or so, and with a number of women, some short, some a little bit longer. And I was wondering if this girl, for instance, is such a short part of Danny Wagner's life. If you yourself are either think that you're imbuing so much into this character, or and if you even really recall her, do you recall her visage? Do you recall anything important about her?
Well, the character, I name her Jenny Lukas, and I certainly did. I mean, I looked her up, so I remembered her. I mean, and I can remember, and Jessica always gets to me. She'll be like, you could see the Elephant Man, and you wouldn't notice a difference between him and some other ugly guy. And they say, but you remember these small details about these girls from 30 years ago. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not queer. I remember stuff about girls. If I was gay, I would be the opposite way. But I remember the real life Jenny Lukas. I remember the way her nostrils turned out. I remember her eyes and the way her eyelashes would flutter, little things like that. And it was just a fluke that I had found out, I think, from someone basically where she lived, and I walked down the block to see if I could see her, and I saw her, and I said, "You want to go get something?" And she said yes. But she was a popular girl, so that was the only time I ever went out with her. If you want to call an hour or two at an A&W, even going out with someone.
And I think you had an anecdote about that too, about how Danny Wagner is still mortal, and if they had all the talent of Georgie O'Keeffe but looked like the Elephant Woman, that would nix her from ever going on in the relationship with you.
Well, sure. I mean, this is the thing, and it's I used the Jenny Lukas character because there's another character in my Big Al's Gina play that's mentioned. We've never seen the character yet in a play, and I'll probably at some point have her in a play or something. I might have had a doppelganger of her in a story or a novel, but the character in the plays is called Renee Altavis, who is this popular girl who is kind of, I would say, a little on the plump side, but I was unrequitedly in love with her when I was a teenager, and she, of course, didn't like me, and I've always found it odd that now, if you looked at her and you would say, okay, she's like a beach ball. And I mean, I'm not Brad Pitt. I've never been Brad Pitt. But I would say that probably more women in my age range would find me attractive than males in our age range would find her attractive. And so it's just odd that after a few decades, the roles are reversed in a sense that, people would say, she rejected him. And so it's the same thing with like this Jenny Lukas character, the so-called real one. And Danny is a bit flummoxed by this. I mean, yes, obviously he should know that she would have aged and whatnot. And I made the difference even more than them being a difference in looks. The dream version of Jenny Lukas is married to a nice guy, has 2 or 3 kids, whereas the real Jenny Lukas is not, and she's in a bad marriage with a husband that cheats and no kids and had a hysterectomy or something.